Boy, oh boy, the rabbit hole I went down at like 4 in the morning today. Let's get into it. Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Chucky Day, and today I am going to be talking about closed species. Closed species is a species that people typically use to make profit off of. Closed species is relatively popular in the furry fandom. I have not really seen any other closed species outside of it so far, but then again, I've not done very much research. Now, personally, I am divided straight down the middle when it comes to closed species. Considering how, on one hand, I believe that people are entitled to do their own thing, but unfortunately, people who do closed species, or at least around the fandom itself of closed species, is relatively toxic. Not to mention, closed species are relatively not very creative. I mean, sure, being able to buy your own currency for your little world of trying to get a closed species is kind of creative. It's interesting to me anyway. But the character itself is not very creative. If you take a look at some closed species examples, I can't pronounce a lot of these, so forgive me. Such as this one, which to me looks like a knockoff Protogen, which granted I don't know which came first. There's also this one that looks like the lizard from the Magic School Bus, and not to mention there's like Jolly Raptors and Raptors in general. Now to me, those aren't very creative, and don't get me wrong, there are some cool ones that I like the design of, but to me, people could easily turn around and go ahead and make these characters and just argue that it's not a part of it. Or people make a character and call it this species, and then they get blacklisted from the species entirely. But what really pisses me off about this situation is that people make characters and they have no idea what the heck this closed species is, and then people go and attack this poor creator saying that they made a knockoff of this said closed creature. Now, I believe people are entitled to go ahead and make their own species. You can make them closed or open, and open is where you let people build off of your creature and do whatever they want with it, you know, that kind of stuff. Not to mention the strange set of rules that people have with closed species gets extremely out of hand as well. Now, I believe that people should be able to make their own species and do whatever they would like with it. Sure, so if you want to sell and make profit off it, go ahead. But there are better ways to be doing it. And not to mention, half of this closed species stuff can easily be mistaken for someone else's stuff. And some people try to make their own little species, their own little cross thing. You know, a lot of it in the furry fandom is like a wolf mixed with, let's use a example of a cat, and some people try to make their own closed species off of that, and a bunch of people in the furry fandom have already done that. And, you know, so it can easily get turned into this drama, and unfortunately the closed species, I guess, fandom, I don't know what else to call it, does get a lot of drama involved because there are people attacking other people strictly just for making an OC. Now, on the other hand, I believe that closed species are fascinating and cool in their own way. I just feel like that there's a bunch of work that needs to be done in order to make it less toxic in the world of closed species. Now, I believe this all started on DeviantArt, if I remember correctly. I'm not very sure, but it just became this toxic train of BS from what I understand. But again, I mean, let's say someone turned around and made a weird core species and went ahead and made it more anthropomorphized, and then they see my persona and say that you didn't buy a slot to make your own, or whatever the hell they may say. And, you know, there's a bunch of things like that. It's like how someone can easily make a character and then automatically have it be assumed that it's a part of the closed species. Now, it's as far as I know, is that it's kind of popular still. I'm not very sure about how popular it is, considering how I just heard about it literally, as I said in the beginning of this YouTube video, at like 3 or 4 in the morning, from this TikTok user talking about it, going on a rant about how stupid closed species are. And of course, I did not know what they were until I took a deep dive on YouTube and did a little bit more research. Now, obviously, I did not create object head personas or anything like that. I don't really know where they became a thing, but I got my inspo from Blitzy, if that is the right name. Goodness gracious, I feel like a jerk if it's not the right name, but this character right here, this is a Omegamart OC, and I loved the concept of it because it's an object head persona, you know? And it instantly made me go into a deep dive about what weirdcore is and all sorts of stuff, and it really made me fascinated with the weirdcore fandom. Now, again, you could easily go ahead and make your own closed species, or your own species in general, make it open or semi-closed, or whatever the heck you want to do with it. And more power to you to do whatever the heck you want to do with it. But I will say that the overpricing is another big problem in the closed species area, because some people, just to make it more, I guess, of a collector's item of their, you know, species, go ahead and price it from anywhere from a couple $100 up to $1,000 some odd dollars, which is ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, if it would make sense if the character was highly detailed. You get a ref sheet, you get a couple drawings of the character, you know, of something like that. But half the time, it's a very basic drawing of the character. You don't even get a ref sheet of what it looks like. And you only get one picture. And it's like, oh my god, you're charging $500 for this? Okay, that's ridiculous. Now, on one hand, some aspects of the closed species is creative, like a trading plaza or something like that. It's like a video game, except you go to the website of the closed creature or something like that. But on the other hand, a lot of these characters are just animals that already existed, with like a curly tail, for instance, or a sharp beak or something like that, which is not very creative, especially considering how, well, that you can just call that a pigeon with like a different aspect. Now, whether or not people, you know, have their own opinions on closed species, a lot of people do, of course, but, you know, I feel like that people should be able to do whatever they want with their characters and not have it automatically be considered to be that close species. People get extremely offended by it, and people attack you for it, and it's just a bunch of toxic crap. Now, for an instance, the character that I'm drawing doesn't have a name yet. Let me just start that off by saying that. But someone could easily turn around and say that this is based off of Sweetie Land's closed character. You know, obviously I'm just using that as a joke. But, you know, it could be easily considered to be that. And, you know, whether or not people, you know, do that, it's up to them. And everyone is entitled to their own opinion regarding a closed species or anything like that, and personally, I'm just down the middle. Obviously, I need to do some more research, and maybe I'll do future videos specifically about specific closed creatures, species, let me rephrase. And so let me know in the comment section about which ones I should do more research on. And if you guys have any questions about them, I will try my best to answer them. Anyway, without anything else for me to say, don't get demonetized.